நமஸ்காரம். என் பேர் ரமேஷ் மகாலிங்கம். நான் இந்த காலேஜோட ஃபவுண்டர் ஸ்ரீ V.Krishnaswami Iyerோட கிரேட் கிராண்ட்சன். In addition to this qualification, I have also spent a lot of time abroad. ஒரு 20 years அமெரிக்காவில் பெப்சிகோங்கிற கம்பெனி, அதை உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன், பெப்சிகோவில் ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்தியாவில் என்னோடய ஓன் கம்பெனி ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிவிட்டு இப்போ அதையும் விற்றுட்டு நான் ரிட்டையர் ஆகி பீப்புளுக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணோங்கிற அப்ஜெக்டிவோடு இங்கே இருக்கேன். இது எங்கள் கிரேட் கிராண்ட்ஃபாதர் ஆரம்பித்த காலேஜுங்கிறதுனால எங்கள் ஃபேமிலியிலே எல்லாருக்கும் இதில் ஒரு ஆர்வம். we want to do our little bit in order to help the college. அதுக்காக கிருஷ்ணசாமியோட கிரேட் கிராண்ட்சன்ஸ் நிறைய பேர், கிராண்ட் சில்ட்ரன் நிறைய பேருங்க கமிட்டி மெம்பர்ஸாக இருக்கா. அண்ட் we all together contribute to bring this college forward.
உங்களுடைய ரோல்ஸ் அண்ட் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் காலேஜ் நீங்கள் எந்த மாதிரியான ரோல் இப்போ இங்கே இது பண்ணிட்டுருக்கீங்க?
இங்கே we have a trust committee. The trust committee essentially runs the college. அங்கே செக்ரட்டரி மிஸ்டர் V. ஸ்ரீகாந்த், அவர் தான் மெயின் டே டு டே அஃபேர்ஸ் மேனேஜ் பண்ணுறார். he is also a great grandson of V.Krishnaswami Iyer. ஸோ நாங்கள் எல்லாருமா எப்படி பண்ணுறோன்னா, ஒவ்வொருத்தர் ட்ரஸ்ட் கமிட்டியில் we take one area of responsibility and we contribute by doing some service in that area. So the area which I have chosen is the digital campus of this college. So in 2017 we officially started the digital campus. அது இப்போ we are going to complete the 5th year. So my contribution is to develop the digital campus and bring Sanskrit to the rest of the world.
ஸோ இப்போ மெட்ராஸ் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் காலேஜ் பற்றியும் அந்த ஃபவுண்டர் V.Krishnaswami Iyer பற்றியும்.
This college was started by V.Krishnaswami Iyer. V.Krishnaswami Iyer பேக்ரவுண்ட் பற்றி கொஞ்சம் சொல்கிறேன். அவர் he was a great lawyer. He was one of the most successful lawyers in Tamil Nadu in a long time. Actually மகாபெரிவாலே அவரை பற்றி சொல்லியிருக்கா, உடல் பொருள் ஆவி இந்த 3 விஷயங்களுக்கும் V.Krishnaswami Iyer தனக்கு இருந்த எல்லா செல்வங்களையும் அவர் டொனேட் பண்ணியிருக்கார். அது உடலுக்கு வெங்கட்ரமண ஆயுர்வேதா காலேஜ் அண்ட் டிஸ்பென்சரி ஆரம்பித்தார். பொருளுக்கு இந்தியன் பேங்கை ஆரம்பித்தவர் மெயினாக அவர் தான். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஆவிக்கு மெட்ராஸ் சம்ஸ்கிருத காலேஜ் ஆரம்பித்தார். ஸோ ஹீ வாண்டட் டு ஹெல்ப் பீப்புள் ஆஃப் திஸ் கண்ட்ரி இன் அ பிக் வே இன் எவ்ரி ஃபீல்டு. அதில் let me give you a background about how he started Indian Bank. This is one of the things which made him very famous. In 1905, there was a bank in Chennai called the Arbuthnot Bank. The Arbuthnot Bank இங்கிறது ஜார்ஜ் அர்பத்நாட்னு ஒருத்தர் ரன் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தார். அவர் என்ன பண்ணார், he was taking funds from a lot of people in and around Chennai. He was also the right hand man to the governor. அவர் என்ன பண்ணார், அதை என்ன பண்ணாரோ தெரியாது, அதை பூரா இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி he lost all the money. அதனால என்ன பண்ணிட்டா, திடீர்னு ஒரு நாள் அர்பத்நாட் பேங்கை க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. There were thousands of people in 1905 who lost their money on Arbuthnot Bank. அப்போ V.Krishnaswami himself was one of the people who lost money. So V.Krishnaswami decided at that point that we will not take this lying down. He said, அவன் என்ன பிரிட்டிஷராக இருந்தா என்ன, இந்தியனாக இருந்தா என்ன, அவனை we will take him to court. So because he was a big lawyer himself, he took a British man to court. In those days it was unheard of that an Indian or a group of Indians would take a British man to the court. அப்போ என்ன பண்ணார், not only was he successful in getting Arbuthnot convicted, he also decided that we will no longer depend on the British to invest our money. So he said we need a bank for Indians run by Indians. So he got a group of investors together, which included the Raja of Chettinad, and he got a lot of depositors together and started the Indian bank. Actually it was called Swadeshi Bank. And later on it became the Indian Bank, and he was one of the person running Indian Bank for a long time. In fact, his son, who is also my grandfather, Sri K. Balajee Iyer, was a director of the Indian Bank till it was nationalized in 1967 by Indira Gandhi. So this is some of the background about his work with the Indian Bank. Now adukapram 1906 same year he also started this Madras Sanskrit College. Inge very large ground that he bought out of his own money, and in those days you have to keep in mind this is 1906, he spent his own 25,000 rupees and bought this piece of land, and some other people also donated. Sir C.P. Ramaswamy had donated some money, and he collected all of these things and bought this whole campus, and they built this building, and he also recruited the very first principal of this college, one Sri Kuppuswamy Shastrigal. This Kuppuswamy Shastrigal was a fantastic scholar, and he was very, very apt first principal for the college, because the man's erudition and his knowledge and his teaching ability was just unparalleled. இங்கே இப்போ குப்புசாமி சாஸ்திரி ரிசர்ச் இன்ஸ்டிடியூட் அப்படின்னு ஒன்று ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கு. அதை Sri K. Balajee Rao was my grandfather, son of Krishnaswami Iyer. He also started along with other people in the honor of Sri Kuppuswamy Shastri. So this I want to give as a background. Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute is a sister concern of ours, and we are doing a lot of research work into old manuscripts, into literature, Sanskrit literature, other languages literature also. All this work is being done as Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute, which is actually physically located in next building, but it is not part of the Sanskrit College technically. So going back to Sri Kuppuswamy Shastri as the first principal, it was followed by successive principals who were just very, very excellent people who developed this college in a very, very great way. And not only Sri Krishnaswamy Iyer, his children, especially his two sons, K. Balajee Iyer and K. Chandrasekhar Iyer, devoted their entire life to running this college. So first, for the last 50 years after Sri Krishnaswamy Iyer died, his son K. Balajee Iyer was the secretary and ran this college in an exemplary way. Then after K. Balajee Iyer died, his brother K. Chandrasekhar Iyer, whom I mentioned, he was running the college for the next 20 years. And after Sri K. Chandrasekhar Iyer, K. Balajee Iyer's son, Sri B. Madhavan, when he retired, he was a senior manager in the Southern Railway. So after he retired from his job, he came the next day after retirement, he came and took over the secretaryship of the college, and Sri Chandrasekhar Iyer retired into the background. And Sri Madhavan spent the next 28 years being the secretary of this college. So basically where we are now with this college is due to the hard work of these three people who were descendants of Sri V.Krishnaswami Iyer.
Typically ஆரம்பிச்சதுலேருந்து நடுவில் நிறைய சேலஞ்சஸ் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணியிருப்பீங்க. நிறைய இந்த பிரிட்டிஷர்ஸ் ஆரம்பிச்சதுலேருந்து சான்ஸ்கிரிட் அப்படிங்கிறது இந்தியன் லாங்குவேஜ் அப்படிங்கிறது நிறைய கண்டெம் பண்ணி நிறைய மிஸ்கைடட் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் நிறைய கொடுத்து அந்த மாதிரிலாம் நிறைய ப்ராபகேட் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அந்த மாதிரி சேலஞ்சஸ் ஆரம்பித்து டில் டேட் நிறைய சேலஞ்சஸ் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணது எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும். அப்படி இருக்கக்கூடியதை how did you manage or how did you overcome those challenges, and what is the status today?
Actually, during British time period, we did not face that many problems because the British, they just let us do what we wanted. And in those days, just answering part of your question, there was not a big split between lovers of Sanskrit and lovers of Tamil. In fact, there were many scholars who were very proficient in both languages. In fact, V.Krishnaswami Iyer himself was a very big lover of Thevaram songs. In fact, he loved listening to Thevaram songs. அந்த காலத்தில் இருந்தவங்க எல்லாமே சம்ஸ்கிருதமும் தமிழும் தங்க இரு கண்கள் அப்படின்னு தான் நினச்சிட்டு இருந்தாங்க, அப்படி தான் நடந்து இருந்தாங்க. There was no differentiation between this language is better or that language is better or this. There was no conflict between the two. You can actually be very proficient and a scholar in both languages. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்தவா, due to political reasons, they have made this division and a split, saying this is the older language, this is the better language, which is all a totally unnecessary dispute. So we are finding more challenges nowadays, the last 40-50 years after the British period. We have had more challenges, and the biggest challenge we have had was in terms of the funding, because funding of this college was a real issue because we had a lot of trouble making ends meet. அதுக்கப்புறம் in 1977 the Rashtriya Sanskrita Sansthan, they started funding the college. Only after that the college started getting a breath of fresh life, and even today the Sansthan funds a lot of the expenses of the college. So although we also bring in some funds in the form of other collections, but most of the funding comes from the Sansthan. So we are very grateful to the Sansthan for running our college.
So இந்த anti-Sanskrit demonstrations நிறைய நடந்ததா, in fact last 30-40 வருஷம், especially after the Dravidian movement in a big way. How far has it impacted you in the college, in the running of the college?
It has actually not affected us in a whole, in a lot of ways. There is some antagonism. நிறைய பேருக்கு வந்து சம்ஸ்கிருதம் நடத்துகிறான், it is not as if we are hurting Tamil in a particular way, but there is a perception that is what we are doing. We keep a very low profile. We don't get involved in these conflicts and fights, and usually ஏதாவது கலாட்டா அந்த மாதிரி நடந்தால் we will just stay quiet. So we have kept out of all these conflicts.
So Sanskrit as a language, இப்போ இந்தியாவில் பாப்புலரைஸ் ஆகிறத விட ஃபாரின் கண்ட்ரிஸ் நிறைய இருக்குது, எஸ்பெஷலி in the midst of foreigners. How far are we there in terms of Indian populationல Sanskrit நிறைய இன்னும் பெரிய லெவலில் ரீச் ஆகுதா?
In fact, if you ask me, there is a lot more interest for Sanskrit within India than outside India. In fact, the demand for Sanskrit within India comes from people who want to go back to their past. They want to have a bridge to their past, to their parents, to their grandparents, and to our ancient culture. So those people who want to trace their roots back, they are interested in Sanskrit. Whereas outside India, there is interest for Sanskrit, but I wouldn't say all of it. A lot of it is vested interest. Rather, they want to study Indian epics and scriptures, and they try to find faults with it. I am not saying everybody is like that. There is a section of people who are doing this. But the demand for Sanskrit within India is genuine, and people wanting to reconnect to their past.
Sanskrit அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து it is in fact narrowed down to a particular sect of Brahmins அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து ஒரு broad based நிறைய பிராமின்ஸ் தான் இது வரைக்கும் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் ரொம்ப வந்து பேட்ரனைஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இது வரைக்கும் நிறைய யூஸ் பண்ணுறது ஆஸ் அ லாங்குவேஜ் ஆல்சோ. இது மற்ற கம்யூனிட்டிஸ்க்கு போய் ரீச் ஆகுதா நம்ம இந்தியாவில்?
That is a good question. We are actually trying to reach a lot of the people outside this Brahmin community also. In fact, எங்க digital campus ஓட motto-வே Sarvebhyaha Sanskritam. That is Sanskrit for all. We want people to completely, for everybody to have the opportunity to learn Sanskrit. There is a reason for this. In fact, in India, in நம்ம பாரத தேசத்தில் Sanskritam is equal to knowledge. Virtually all sciences, all knowledge was in Sanskrit. So if you want to access the great knowledge our ancestors had, you have to learn Sanskrit. This is not, I'm not putting down the other languages. The local languages are very beautiful languages. They are great languages. But when it comes to knowledge, there is only Sanskrit. This is Sanskrit is the root of all knowledge in India. And there is just no denying that. So there may be good literature in other languages and all that. But when it comes to this, it goes back to Sanskrit. So you have to learn Sanskrit if you want to bring back the glory days of our country.
Going back in time, நம்மளுடைய பேசிக் ஸ்ட்ரக்சரை ஒரு மாதிரி பார்த்தாக்கா நிறைய வந்து சயின்ஸாக இருக்கட்டும், என்ஜினியரிங்காக இருக்கட்டும். என்ஜினியரிங் நமக்குலாம் புதுசே கிடையாது. ஏன்னா நம்ம வந்து ஒரு ஆர்கிடெக்சரும் பார்த்தாக்கா, ஒரு கோயில் ஆர்கிடெக்சரும் பார்த்தாக்கா, ஒரு ஊர்லேயோ across the length and breadth of the country, there has been such a beautiful, in fact, magnificent ஆர்கிடெக்சர்லாம் நிறைய இருந்திருக்கு. ஸோ என்ஜினியரிங்கோ சயின்ஸை பற்றி பேசணும் அப்படின்னாக்கா நிறைய மகாபாரதம் மாதிரியான இதில் எப்பிக்கில் யூஸ் பண்ணக்கூடிய இந்த நியூக்ளியர் பேஸ்ட் இதெல்லாம் வெப்பன்ட்ரி. அப்படி பார்த்தாக்க சயின்ஸ் அண்ட் மேக்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிறது நிறைய அட்வான்ஸாகவே இருந்திருக்கும். ஸோ இதெல்லாம் சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டில் இருந்ததுனால இது வந்து ரொம்ப யூ சே இன்ஃபேக்ட் இட் ஹஸ் காட் பெட்டர் இம்பேக்ட், அதனால சொல்கிறேன்ல.
Basically, when it comes to writing down or understanding the sciences, people only resorted to Sanskrit. In a Sanskrit la the numbers, which is the basis for all science and maths, they came from Sanskrit. So slowly it developed in Sanskrit only. For what reason I don't know, but the language itself facilitates ease of communication. Sanskrit, if you actually study language, you will find out that it is a very, very easy and fluent language. People can compose poetry just like that. Even common people can compose poetry in Sanskrit very easily. But it is not so easy in other languages. Much more difficult in other languages. Just to give an example, there was a great poet by name Vedanta Deshikar. He composed a 1,000-verse song overnight. He started at night, by morning he was finished. That means it was so easy. Okay, he was a genius and he was brilliant. But in addition to that, the language itself facilitates ease of communication.
So moving forward, what are the plans for Madras Sanskrit College?
We want to maintain the spirit of excellence in this college. So we are known for our in-depth knowledge of various branches of Sanskrit. But in addition to maintaining that excellence, we want to take this knowledge, this spirit of excellence across the world. To anybody who is interested in learning Sanskrit, we should want to make it available to them to learn. And that is why we started the digital campus. So it is basically just our college in a different form, which is accessible to everyone. So this is the purpose of doing our digital campus.